He accused me of favoring our baby, then things went completely off the rails. The clock screamed 5 a.m., but the dread had been awake for hours. I was pregnant and wanted to work from home to raise our child, but the devastating words he hurled at me still echoed in my mind. My husband accused me of prioritizing my biological child over his daughter, a dagger twisted deep. I'm a saleswoman who does quite well for herself, a point he seemed to conveniently forget. My husband and I have been married for 2 years, together for longer, and every beautiful memory now felt tainted. This is my first child, a beacon of hope now shrouded in the darkness of our crumbling marriage. He has an 8-year-old daughter from his former relationship and has always had complete custody. Our dating life was difficult, an uphill battle fought against his responsibilities as a full-time single dad juggling long hours. But we made it work, or so I thought. After a year of dating, I met his then 4-year-old daughter, Lizzie. I really liked her, instantly charmed by her bright eyes and infectious laughter, and I've always tried to be the best stepmother possible. She calls me Mom, a title I've strived to earn, not just inherit. I've done all a mother would do for her, helped her get dressed and ready for school, styled her hair, assisted her with homework, cheered her on at soccer, and taken her on countless ice cream dates. I am not perfect, and I have made mistakes, but we have been a really happy family, or so I desperately wanted to believe. When my husband and I were engaged, he asked if I wanted to be a stay-at-home parent to Lizzie and any future children. At that time, I politely rejected. I was doing well in my job and enjoyed going to work, thriving in the fast-paced environment. So, the idea of staying home all day with a child and doing nothing but cleaning and mom things didn't appeal to me. My then fiancé was understanding, or at least he seemed to be. We moved on, blissfully planning for the future, envisioning the children we might have. Fast forward to now, and I'm 6 months pregnant with our baby. I'm on cloud 9, walking through life in a hazy bubble of joy and anticipation. Something within me has changed, a primal instinct awakened by the life growing inside me. I started thinking about being a stay-at-home parent, and it didn't seem so horrible anymore. I love my son and want to spend as much time with him as possible. I know it's not all roses and champagne, there's a lot of poop, drool, crying, and exhaustion. But I can't bear the thought of having only 2 weeks of maternity leave and then handing over my kid to a stranger at daycare. The thought alone felt like a physical wound. I've been thinking about this for months, carefully weighing the options, wanting to make sure it was something I truly desired rather than simply wishful thinking. I discussed the advantages and downsides with my supervisor, meticulously planning how to make it work. I'm at the point in my profession where I can work from home full-time, stay with my son, and even pick up my stepdaughter from school. I wouldn't mind watching her and spending more time with her. In fact, I genuinely looked forward to it. The more I considered it, the more I wanted to attempt it, to embrace this new chapter with open arms. So, after putting little Lizzie to bed tonight, I asked my husband if we could talk, hesitantly mentioning my idea with a hopeful lilt in my voice. I was totally unprepared for his reaction. My spouse was infuriated, his face contorted with a rage I had rarely witnessed. He roared that we had a promise that I wouldn't be a stay-at-home parent before we married, and that I was now changing my mind. He then launched a brutal assault on my character, accusing me of being a bad stepmother, claiming that I plainly preferred our son over Lizzie, and that my favoritism was disgustingly obvious. He also stated, with venom dripping from his words, that I should not be allowed to stay at home with our son until his daughter could share the experience with me. A demand that felt like a cruel and calculated punishment. For the record, Lizzie is incredibly excited about her little brother and cannot wait for him to be born. She has never shown any signs of anxiety, grief, or jealousy toward him or me, her innocent heart untouched by the brewing storm. I was astonished and stunned, reeling from the force of his anger. My spouse is now banished to the couch, his choice, and I am crying in our room, the sanctuary of our marriage now a prison of despair. I am deeply offended by what my husband stated, each word a fresh wound. I realize I'm not perfect, but I've done my best for Lizzie, pouring my heart and soul into being the best stepmother I could be. I never imagined I'd alter my mind about becoming a stay-at-home mom, but now I really, genuinely want to do so. And I wouldn't have to give up my job, which is a double plus, a dream scenario that now felt impossibly out of reach. My husband's words have deeply affected me, leaving me raw and vulnerable. I am beyond angry over his charge that I love Lizzie more than the baby. I truly adore Lizzie, a love that has grown and deepened over time. While I confess that I have a stronger connection to this baby, I believe this is due to my own experience with pregnancy, the miracle of life taking root within me. This baby is half of me, a piece of my soul made manifest. It's simply different, a profound and undeniable truth. Is this really so wrong? Am I truly a lousy stepmother, deserving of his condemnation? I hadn't planned on altering my mind. Again, I intend to keep my career, and I do not mind taking extra care of Lizzie in addition to the baby. I believe it may be an opportunity for us to become closer and connect over the baby, strengthening our bond in new and beautiful ways. I'm not sure what to say to my husband. The words seemed to catch in my throat, choked by the weight of his accusations. I tried to tell him everything I mentioned here, including my desire to spend more time with Lizzie and be closer to her. But all he did was yell harder and utter more horrible things about my parenting, his anger raging inferno consuming everything in its path. I'm pretty crushed and becoming angry by the minute, feeling the fragile threads of our marriage fraying before my eyes. I believe I am a good stepmom to Lizzie, and she seemed to agree, her love and affection a constant reassurance. My husband appears to be the only one who is having a problem that threatens to tear our family apart. Update: thank you for your warm and encouraging comments on my last post. They were quite helpful, a beacon of light in the darkness, as were some of the probable explanations for why my spouse suddenly blew up at me, offering glimpses of understanding into the chaos. I did receive several angry private comments from what sounded like bitter single fathers, which only confirmed my husband's unreasonable behavior. Their vitriol a stark reminder of the prejudice I was facing. To answer some of the questions in my last post, I said that I had the right to alter my mind, that life is a fluid and ever-changing landscape. I expressed my willingness to do more for Lizzie, including taking her to the zoo and museums with the baby, participating in PTA meetings, and sporting events so she and her brother could watch and support each other. I reminded him that this was a good approach for all of the kids, a chance to build a stronger, more loving family unit, and that his distorted sense of fairness, where he wanted to deny our children a nurturing home simply because Lizzie's birth mother had failed her, was fundamentally wrong. I informed him that taking away opportunities for our children would not alleviate his guilt, a band-aid solution to a deep-seated wound. I even stated that I was willing to work through this, seek counseling, and speak with child psychologists or other professionals to obtain an unbiased, professional opinion on what was best for our family, desperate to find a way forward. Then he grew furiously enraged, his anger escalating to a terrifying crescendo. He screamed that I was returning to work 2 weeks after giving birth, a declaration that felt like a punch to the gut. He claimed I had my chance to be a stay-at-home parent, and because I didn't take it for Lizzie, I couldn't do it now for our son since he won't allow me now. His words were a cage, trapping me in his twisted logic, denying me the agency to make my own choices. As much as I adore my spouse and our children, I refuse to be dominated. I won't be told where I can and cannot work. I will not be told if I can or cannot work. I'm not a dog. I'm not a slave. I will not be compelled to deny my own baby his mother and pass him over to a stranger simply because his sibling had a difficult start in life. It is irrational to purposefully limit your own child's chances in the name of justice, a warped sense of morality that threatened to destroy everything I held dear. That is horrible parenting. The fact that my spouse wanted to do this to me and our son through a switch inside of me was a breaking point. I stood up quietly and told my spouse that I was going, my voice trembling with a mixture of fear and resolve. I informed him he had crossed the line and that I needed some space from him, a sanctuary to gather my thoughts and protect myself. I stated that I would not subject any of my children to such an abusive and controlling environment, a promise to safeguard their innocence. I told him that once things settled down, we could go to marriage counseling because he obviously had deep-seated issues that needed to be addressed, his emotional turmoil threatening to swallow us whole. He grew upset and began crying, his facade of anger crumbling to reveal the vulnerable man beneath. "You can't leave, we have a family, you can't take my son." I was stunned at that point, his words a desperate plea. "For once, you will take Lizzie to school, and I will leave during that time," I replied, steeling myself against his pain. I went into our room and started packing, my hands shaking as I threw clothes into a bag. He stormed in and began throwing my clothes from the bag while shouting at me, his rage spiraling out of control. I was genuinely afraid, the air thick with tension. I've never seen my spouse like this, his eyes blazing with a fury I didn't recognize. I responded, my voice barely a whisper, "If you try to stop me from leaving or lay a hand on me, I will call the police." I also told him I was calling my mother to come get me, seeking refuge in her strength. Maybe this was an overreaction, but I was terrified, my instincts screaming at me to flee. I only wanted to get myself and my son away from him, to escape the storm he had created. He burst into tears and walked away, defeated. I contacted my mother and told her she had to come immediately, her presence a lifeline in the chaos. I informed her that I did not feel comfortable and needed to stay with her for a bit, seeking solace in her unwavering support. I packed what I needed as quickly as possible, and when my mother came, I departed, leaving behind the life I had built. I've been with her for approximately 5 days, and I'm feeling numb, lost in a fog of disbelief. I can't believe how fast everything happened, the whirlwind of emotions leaving me breathless. My family and marriage were turned upside down in a couple of days, shattered beyond recognition. I wish I had never mentioned being a stay-at-home parent, wishing I could turn back time and undo the damage. If I had, none of this would have occurred, and we might still be a family. My husband and I were in North Carolina for a few days before he began messaging and calling on day 3, pleading with me to return, saying Lizzie had been crying for me and missing me, using her innocent love as a weapon. I've determined that Lizzie is safe. I know my spouse would never mistreat her, but I spoke to her yesterday to ensure she was eating, attending school, and completing her homework. She was crying and asking when I was going back, her voice filled with heartbreaking confusion. And I didn't know what to respond, my heart aching for her. So, I responded, I don't know, but I loved her very much, a simple truth in a sea of lies. I urged my husband not to use Lizzie as a pawn to trick me into returning because it wouldn't work. His manipulative tactics were transparent and hurtful. He genuinely claimed I'm proving I'm a bad stepparent by not returning and being there for her, twisting the knife deeper. I told him that if I'm so bad, he shouldn't want me back and should not speak to me again until he's ready to go to counseling and leave Lizzie out of our difficult situation. I stated that if Lizzie was mentioned in any text or email, I would delete it without reading the rest, a boundary I desperately needed to establish. I established a rule that any phone call in which he attempts to bring her up outside of the context of her being safe and cared for, I will immediately hang up, protecting myself from his emotional manipulation. I told him I didn't want to talk to him right now, and you should figure out what he wants because I'm prepared to file for divorce if he doesn't get it together soon, drawing a line in the sand. My spouse began crying again, his tears failing to move me. But I simply hung up since I was too fatigued to deal with any more that day, emotionally drained and depleted. He has remained silent since, with the exception of a text I received today stating that he wants me back and misses me, a hollow echo in the vast emptiness of our broken marriage. I honestly don't know where to go from here, lost in a labyrinth of pain and uncertainty. I'm still trying to comprehend everything, grappling with the wreckage of our shattered lives. I had never offended him and was not his ex-wife, so why was he making me suffer for what she had done to him? It boils down to my husband's fear that I would become like his ex, that I would prioritize our son above Lizzie, and that I would injure or stop loving her. A projection of his past trauma onto our present reality. The therapist addressed the distinction between his kids. She emphasized that my husband needs to understand that it is natural to feel more connected and attached to biological children than to stepchildren. That was not the case for me, which was not only natural and expected but also acceptable. She asked him, have I not been loving and kind to Lizzie? Had I not cared for her? Had I not gone out of my way to sacrifice for her as any parent would? My husband responded reluctantly but enthusiastically to all of the above, admitting the truth. So, the therapist told me that there was nothing wrong with having feelings or changing my mind as long as I continued to love and respect Lizzie. She told us there was no problem. She also pointed out that while my husband may be offended because Lizzie is also his biological child, it was unfair for him to expect me to feel the same love and connection to her that he did. In reality, she argued it was impossible because I hadn't carried, given birth to her, or breastfed her, and she hadn't entered my life until she was a young girl. The therapist highlighted that there are several types of love and that my special link with the infant, as well as my desire to stay at home and nest, were not only natural but also did not imply that I had lost my mother's love for Lizzie. It wasn't about loving her less, being unjust, or doing something wrong. It was just different, a truth he seemed unwilling to accept. She stated one of the most common mistakes biological parents make with stepparents is guilt or shaming them about their sentiments towards stepchildren versus biological children, insisting that love must be the same. She admitted that while this instinct is normal and protective, it is frequently the biological parent who causes friction and strain if not handled properly. Both stepparent and stepchild may feel inferior. In some circumstances, the biological parent may overcompensate by making the stepchild the favorite one in an attempt to correct a perceived bias. This was beginning to reflect my own emotions. The therapist concluded by stating that even biological parents have favorites among their children. She assured us that I was handling things well and had done an excellent job thus far. In fact, we were ahead of the game because Lizzie was thrilled with the pregnancy and had a really positive and close bond with me, a foundation he was recklessly jeopardizing. My husband argued that my staying home with our son but not with Lizzie was clear favoritism, a twisted perspective that ignored the complexities of our situation. The therapist argued with several previously established points. At the time, I was unable to work from home due to my professional circumstances. If I wanted to stay at home with Lizzie, I would have had to quit my career completely. I wasn't in a position in our relationship to be a stay-at-home mom. I wasn't married yet and didn't feel comfortable giving up all of my financial stability without a commitment. Lizzie was already in preschool, she was not a newborn. Most individuals would not want to give up a fulfilling career to stay at home full-time with a child who did not need constant care, especially if they had no biological link to the child. Lizzie would not know the difference. She was old enough to comprehend that I was not her biological mother and that I had not entered her life until she was no longer a baby or toddler. Furthermore, even young children may grasp that babies require more care than preschoolers, especially if it is taught to them correctly. The therapist stressed that the fact that I was eager to spend time with Lizzie, wanted her to be a part of the baby's life, and continued to play an active role in Lizzie's life were all very positive signals. She stated that we were doing significantly better than many other stepfamilies in our circumstances, offering a glimmer of hope amidst the despair. I'm sad to inform you that my hubby tried but couldn't accept it, the weight of his unresolved issues too heavy to bear. We tried more family trips than therapy, but he backed away, saying he felt ganged up on and that no one was on his side, unable to see the love and support surrounding him. He couldn't understand why I would stay at home to care for a baby, his mind trapped in a cycle of resentment and fear. I asked him directly if he wanted the baby. He said, "Of course I do, but added that he merely wanted to make sure his daughter received what was promised to her, his conditional love a painful reminder of the broken promises of his past. Finally, he refused to compromise, unwilling to budge from his rigid position. Frankly, I saw it as clearly unfair and harsh to our kid to insist that he be placed in daycare or assigned to a nanny or au pair. All in the name of fairness. Despite both his therapist and our stressing that fairness does not always imply equality, he refused to listen, his ears deaf to reason. It was as if he didn't want to recognize how my role as a stay-at-home parent would benefit his daughter, blinded by his own pain and insecurities. I believe my husband expected me to cave, but all it did was cause me to lose love and affection for him, eroding the very foundation of our marriage. Especially when he finished, I informed him that if he did that or continued to insist on getting his way, I would file for formal separation, drawing a definitive line in the sand. I guess he thought I was lying, that I would back down from my convictions. But when nothing changed, I went directly to an attorney's office, taking decisive action to protect myself and my children. I have set up a semi-formal custody agreement. I'll maintain working from home while living with my parents, a temporary sanctuary in the storm. When I go into labor, my husband is not permitted to enter the birthing room, a decision born of fear and distrust. Instead, he must remain in the waiting room, separated from me during the most vulnerable moment of my life. He can see and hold our son, but only while I am present and someone else is overseeing, ensuring my safety. I insisted on this because, to be honest, I am terrified of my spouse and do not trust him. His unpredictable anger has shattered my sense of security. My hubby is overcome with astonishment and grief, his world crumbling around him. His family is furious with him and absolutely supports me, validating my choices and offering unwavering support. They are obviously concerned about the whole scenario, witnessing the unraveling of our family. I've told all of his relatives that they're welcome to attend the birth and hold the kid. In fact, I want them there to watch my spouse with the baby and make sure he doesn't do anything bad, a silent shield against his potential rage. My hubby is constantly texting, calling, and emailing me, bombarding me with his pleas and apologies. He says he can't believe I am doing this, his words filled with desperation. Why can't you listen to me and understand me? Please come back and be a family again, among other things. I've told him that he needs to go back to therapy, to confront his demons and heal his wounds. And I need to be able to trust him with our son, a trust that has been irrevocably broken. That trust will only come when I notice a shift in his attitude toward our son and my stepdaughter, a transformation that requires deep self-reflection. I need to feel like a wife to him and not simply a mother to Lizzie, reclaiming my place in our marriage. I truly love Lizzie. Every day I cry because I've lost her, her innocent heart caught in the crossfire of our marital conflict. But I didn't marry my spouse to become her mother. I married him because I loved him and wanted to spend my life with him, a dream now shattered. I knew being a stepmother was part of the deal, but it wasn't the only reason I married him, a truth he has seemingly forgotten. Lizzie calls me frequently, her voice a fragile thread connecting us across the chasm of our separation. I've seen her a couple of times after the fiasco, keeping her in my life despite the turmoil. Her father is not permitted to talk about her with me because I believe he is manipulative, but I also do not want to take Lizzie out of my life completely, fearing the pain it would cause her. I absolutely love that girl, and I have shed many tears for her while she goes through this, her innocent suffering weighing heavily on my heart. I tell Lizzie how much I love her, that none of this is her fault, and that I am doing everything I can to make things work, clinging to the hope of reconciliation. I tell her that I still want her to be in both my and her brother's lives, reaffirming our bond. I tell her that she is the best bonus daughter and sister in the world, a testament to the love we share. My husband's family has informed me that Lizzie is having difficulty adjusting to our separation, the disruption rippling through her young life. She has even cried at her father, "You made both of my mommies leave," her innocent heart unable to comprehend the complexities of our situation. I was scared Lizzie would hate me for this, blaming me for the chaos. Her grades are failing, she is miserable, she constantly cries, and she has become quite disrespectful to her father, acting out her pain and confusion. I begged my husband to get her to counsel, recognizing the urgent need for professional help. He eventually did, and it's helping her, offering a glimmer of hope in the darkness. The guilt I experience is enormous, and I feel as if I have single-handedly destroyed my family, a weight that threatens to crush me. But deep down, I know I'm making the right choice by standing firm on my bounds, insisting on being treated with love and respect, and asking that my husband do the same for both children, protecting their emotional well-being. I can't fix him, and if he refuses to seek therapy for his problems, then I have no future with him, a heartbreaking realization. I'm not ready to file for divorce just yet, clinging to the hope of reconciliation. So, I'm pursuing legal separation, a temporary measure to protect myself and my children. My husband says that he wants this to work, his words a desperate plea. I informed him that I needed to see improvements in his life, beginning with him returning to therapy, a step he has been reluctant to take. I want to save my marriage, but I have done everything I can. If my husband will not do his part, all I can do is go on, rebuild my life, and protect my children. I've informed my husband that if he doesn't get back into therapy by the time our son is a month old, I'll file for divorce, a firm deadline to force his hand. I also informed him that if he abuses me, damages me, or even considers dating other people again, I will file for divorce, setting clear boundaries to protect myself and my future. Overall, this is a disappointing update, the path ahead fraught with uncertainty. But writing it down has been a form of catharsis, a way to process the pain and find some semblance of peace. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you. Now, after everything you've heard, I need your honest opinion. Did I handle this situation correctly? Was I justified in my actions, or should I have done something differently? I'm desperate for perspective and would deeply appreciate any thoughts you have to share.